Hey guys, we have big news just coming out of the state of Alaska. Mary Peltola, a Democrat, has just won the Alaska special election after second round votes were counted, as Alaska is now using a ranked choice voting system. But Peltola has defeated former Governor Sarah Palin, who only picked up 48.5% of the votes. 51.5% went for the Democratic candidate in the at-large congressional district of Alaska. This is a major win for the Democratic Party, not just because they gained a House seat, but because they flipped one in the solidly red state of Alaska. This seat was red for 50 years before Peltola's win, and this is going to be another big boost to Democrats going into the midterms in November. And so Sarah Palin will be denied the opportunity to serve out the remaining 4 months of Don Young's term. Young was the longest serving congressional Republican in American history and took office at the same time as Joe Biden, who entered the Senate in 1973 alongside Don Young a couple of months later. Young served from 1973 all the way until the 18th of March 2022, holding onto the seat, the only seat for Alaska in the House for 49 years as a Republican. And so now he will be succeeded by a Democrat, that of course being Mary Peltola, who will be on the ballot in just 2 months to see whether or not she can win a full 2-year term in the United States House. And so in this race, we had 3 major candidates: Mary Peltola, Sarah Palin, and Nick Begich III. Both Palin and Begich were Republicans, and Nick Begich being a Republican is pretty interesting because he is from the largest Democratic political family in the state. His grandfather was Nick Begich Sr., who served in the U.S. House from 1971 until 1972, right before Don Young, and so this was the last time a Democrat had held this seat, and he died in 1972 under mysterious circumstances, and so the last 2 representatives from Alaska both left office by death, 49 years apart. And so coming back to the race, this was the first time that Alaska used ranked choice voting, and in the end, ranked choice voting really did make a difference in this election. In 2020, Alaska still used regular voting to elect Don Young for a 25th time, and so in 2022 here, we did that Mary Peltola was able to win in the final round with 51.5% of votes. In the first round, she only won 40%, still a plurality, and so in the first round, Nick Begich was eliminated. And so if we look at the results a bit closer here, we'll see that Nick Begich actually came surprisingly close to defeating Sarah Palin. If Begich had gotten second place in advance of the final round, I do think that Nick Begich would have been elected over Mary Peltola. Essentially what all the polls have told us, Mary Peltola only would have won against Sarah Palin, and so she got very lucky that more Republicans turned out for Palin than for Begich, as of course we had 2 Republican candidates running in the first round. So if you do look at these 2 final polls that were conducted for the Alaska race, you'll see that Mary Peltola was ahead of Sarah Palin by 5% in one of them, and ahead of Palin by 2% in the other. So this poll ended up being much more accurate. But we also had 2 polls between Peltola and Begich. Begich defeated Mary Peltola by 8 and 9% in both of these polls, and that just goes to show you that it's not Republicans that did that poorly in the state. It was simply the fact that Nick Begich did not advance to the final round, and Sarah Palin was just too hated to be elected. And so things definitely unfolded in a way that was very beneficial for Peltola, but we're just going to have to see what happens in November, because that will also be a very difficult race for Democrats to win. Yes, Peltola's victory was very impressive now, as of course Joe Biden lost Alaska by 10% to Donald Trump in 2020. Trump won 52% of the votes here in the state, 42% for Joe Biden, and so this flip was definitely a significant victory for Democrats in the state of Alaska. I mean, this was on a seat that they thought they would ever win in the next couple of decades, but right now Alaska has elected its first Democratic House member in almost 50 years. And so in the end, the main issue for Republicans was just how hated Sarah Palin was as a candidate. She was the former governor of Alaska from 2006 until her resignation in 2009, and this was after she lost the 2008 presidential election as the running mate to John McCain. So John McCain chose the pretty new and inexperienced governor, Sarah Palin, to run alongside him, and that was one of the main reasons why he lost. And so in 2008, we had pretty much the last landslide in a presidential election, with Barack Obama winning 365 electoral votes. The Palin-McCain ticket only won 173. And so since her resignation, Sarah Palin has joined the Tea Party movement within the GOP in the early 2010s, and then she is now a part of the MAGA movement under Donald Trump, and that's just made her a pretty unappealing candidate to many Nick Begich voters who are much more moderate on the political spectrum. And so if you look at how the breakdown went for the Begich votes, you'll see that Palin only won half of votes that went to Begich first. Nearly 30% went to Peltola, and then a whole fifth of Begich voters did not vote for either of these candidates as their second choice. And that just goes to show you how unpopular Sarah Palin is. Even though she is also the Republican in the race, Nick Begich voters did not want to vote for their former governor, and so a third of them voted for Peltola, and then a whole 21% of them did not even vote for any of them, so they may not have preferred Peltola over Palin, but they definitely did not want to vote for Sarah Palin either way. And so with this election in Alaska, this marks now the 5th time out of all 5 special elections since Roe v. Wade was overturned in June, the Democrats have outperformed the Biden's numbers. If you look at the 1st District of Nebraska, the special election this year, Republicans won by 5%, Trump won it by 15% in 2020. Trump won the 1st District of Minnesota by 10% in 2020, Republicans won it by 4% this year. In the 19th District of New York, Biden won it by 1.5%, and Democrats held onto the seat in the special election just a couple of weeks ago, winning by 2.2%. In the 23rd District of New York, Trump won it by 11, Republicans won it by 6 this year. And finally, now in the at-large District of Alaska, basically the entire state of Alaska, Trump won the state by 10%, Democrats now win it by 3, with Mary Peltola defeating Sarah Palin and Nick Begich III. And so special elections can be a very good predictor as to how midterm races are going to go, and with the last 5 special elections seeing Democrats outperform expectations significantly, doing even better than Joe Biden 2 years ago, we are set for a very competitive midterm, as of course Joe Biden's unpopularity is still going to boost the GOP this November as well. So looking at the 530 forecast right now, Democrats have a 68% chance at retaining Senate control and just a 24% chance at retaining House control. So definitely Democrats are doing much better in the Senate, but in the House, the odds have been going up quite a bit for Democrats. If you look at the forecast just a few months ago, Democrats only had a 10% chance at winning at one point in time, and now they're expected to win around 206 seats, which would not be that big of a loss. Really, it'd only be around 6 or 7 flips for the Republican Party if they're to win 229. So at one point, it was expected to be a pretty big majority, bigger than the one that Democrats won in 2018, but now it's going to become a pretty small majority, according to 538, if Republicans even flip the House back into their control. And so looking at the forecast in Alaska, even though Peltola just won, she's going to be on the ballot once again, and she has a 16% chance at winning her re-election. Nick Begich has a 45% chance at winning, and there is a 38% chance that Sarah Palin wins. So in the overall midterm election, in that environment, Republicans are likely to do better, so it will still be pretty difficult for Mary Peltola to win a second term. And if you look at how this forecast has changed, the odds did go up today after Peltola won, but still 530 is confident that Republicans are going to win this seat back in just 2 months. Now, right now, a Republican has an 84% chance of winning, whether that's Sarah Palin or Nick Begich, but at this point, I think that after Sarah Palin's loss, voters are going to move towards Begich if they want to end up winning. So the special election was definitely a shocker. I mean, this may be a sign as to what's to come. Candidates like Mehmet Oz in Pennsylvania, Herschel Walker in Georgia, and Blake Masters in Arizona may see similar fates, as they're equally as unpopular and similar in how they're campaigning to Sarah Palin in Alaska. So we're just going to have to see what happens in the next 2 months, but definitely a very surprising result. Mary Peltola is now the Congresswoman-elect for the at-large District of Alaska in the United States House of Representatives. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you like it down below if you're to comment down below whether or not you thought Peltola was going to win, and do you think she'll win re-election to a second term this November? Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Consider purchasing a channel membership for just 99 cents per month to gain extra perks on this channel going into the midterms, and I will see you guys in the next video.